Alright, so listen to this. Did you know that between the 1600s all the way into the early 1900s in North America, that is, grave robbing wasn't a felony, like it was illegal. In fact, police would see it happening and they wouldn't even do nothing. Nothing. Excuse me, a mosquito just bit me. Oh, these mosquitoes are treacherous this year. Have y'all recognized that too? That the mosquitoes are treacherous this year? Okay, what was I at? Police would see it and they wouldn't even do anything. Even Lincoln's body had to be moved several times due to grave robbers. Though many robbed graves to steal buried valuables, others stole the actual body to sell to doctors. To doctors, y'all. Doctors. The people we entrust with our health used to buy bodies. What's going on right now? Come on now, hey. Nature, what can you do, right? It's a lot. But anyway, yeah, these are little tree bugs. What you call them? Them lantern bugs? They said to kill them when you see them. Get out of here. Come on. Yeah, they said to kill him when you see him. But look, this one has his wings open. Wow, I never saw one with his wings open. They actually look like a beautiful butterfly when they open their wings. Y'all know them lantern bugs I'm talking about, flying all over the place, invaded all the trees. What, a few years ago, we was invaded by them. Yeah, I never actually seen them with their wings open. Anyway, let me get back to where I'm at. Okay. So yeah, they wouldn't do nothing. They was buying bodies that they knew were stolen from someone's grave. How about that? This is the 1600s, y'all. Into the early 1900s, though. So now, why? When the medical universities such as Harvard and Yale were founded in 1636 and 1701, they had a problem. Where was we going to get all these bodies from for our students to, train on? Exactly. Where were they going to get all those cadavers from? So, in comes the grave robbers. This was what you call a black market. For real, though. This was a black market, y'all. You know why I say that? Because they were mainly robbing the graves of black folks. Yeah. See, just like everything else, is segregation is real, right? Come on, let's not play games. We fall past that now. We are past that now. Segregation is real, right? White folks prefer to be with white folks. Black folks prefer to be with black folks. Now, there are exceptions. Normally, the exception is black folks that have money prefer to be with black folks that have money, right? Like, see the way it was back in the days? How even when you became a famous celebrity, you still lived in the hood if you were so-called, quote-unquote, black. Yeah, you still lived in the hood. Muhammad Ali lived in the slums for a long time, even after he became the champ, right? A lot of celebrities. I mean, shoot, that took place for a long time. And y'all know I'm still recovering from my dental procedure. So excuse me if I stutter a little bit. I'm trying to speak as clearly as possible. But yeah. So that went on for a long time because we can remember learning about New Edition when the New Edition movie came out. Everybody was amazed to find out that New Edition had made all those #1 hits, traveling all over the globe, to come back home to the slums, the projects. So, that went on for a long time, you know what I'm saying? That went on for a very long time, But, yeah. It was segregated the same way. Graveyards were segregated just like that, The black was buried over here, mostly on hollow ground. And then, the whites, they was buried in what is called a cemetery, Pretty little cemetery, well-manicured lawns, things like that. Everybody got a headstone, a tomb, what is it? Headstone, a tombstone. Right, so, and black folks was just there for the taking. So, what do you think they did? They went and they took them, dug up their bodies, sold them to these prominent, prestigious colleges, known all over the world, colleges. And again, this is allegedly, so let me give my copyright disclaimer. Under the Fair Copyright Act of 1973, 76, fair use is granted. Fair Use Act 1976. Fair use is granted for education, tutorial, news commentary, criticism, etc. And this video is basically for education purposes, educational purposes with a little humor in between, right? News and all that, right? So, now, yeah, they would go and rob the graves of these black folks. I mean, who cared about these black folks? Who cared? Their graves were just there for the taking, right? They didn't have no gate. You know what I'm saying? Wherever you could bury your loved one, we would go in and have our own little areas. We would create areas where, most of our loved ones was predominantly buried, and that became our grave site, right? But, yeah, they were taken from these grave sites. So, when you think about that, it's like, wow. Long time, man. I'm telling you, long time for us. A long time for us. So, if there's anybody out there, white America, Native American America, African, wherever you're from, whatever your culture, whatever your race. I don't want to say race, race, ethnicity, whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? And you feel as though we don't have a right, because I heard about this big battle that's going on now, right? With the foreigners, right? The foreigners. Let me say this again. The foreigners, okay, that are going around and, trying to talk dirt or bad mouth and sully the name of the so-called black community, And I don't really like to use black. I don't mean no disrespect when I say black. You should know who you are by now. I would hope you do. So, I'm just using that for the sake of video purposes, because I don't have time to keep going back and forth. Okay? Okay, let's go. So, I'm just saying, they're going around throwing dirt on the black American population. When, come on, man, look at this. This is crazy. Oh, by the way, I'm taking this out of the Hood Health Handbook by Supreme Design. Okay? So, yeah. But this is information that can be found in various other places as well. Right? But, I'm just saying, like, how can you feel as though we don't have a right for so long? I just told you this was going on since the 1600s. What you think? They wasn't taking us back then too? Remember, according to their records, slavery started in 1619, right? That's when slavery began, right? 1619. So, if slavery began around 1619, and that's funny because the Bible, King James Version, 1609 to 1611, right? 1611, around there. That's when it was pretty much, made to the public. And you good niggas was allowed to learn it and adopt it, right? Yeah. I guess that was a gift to us, right? But anyway, so you was given that around so you was in, around 1611, it was made to the public. 1619, slavery starts. So how convenient that you was given that Bible. Because up until before 1619, you didn't know anything about that Bible. Or any of these doctrines, for that matter. Right? But anyway, getting off of that. Getting back to what I was saying. So, yeah, they were taking the bodies of black people, robbing our graves. Who cares about our families, right? Who cares about our loved ones, right? Our loved ones don't deserve any respect. But, yeah, this is what was going on back then. This was back then, right? Because I don't need no one in the background talking about, they always talking about that old stuff that was so long ago. Anyway, however, on that, I'll digress. So, it says, yeah, they had a problem. So, yeah, they had to, where was they going to get all these bodies from? Okay, all right, I'm going backwards. My bad. Apologies, okay? Yeah, so there we go. And here's the thing. Here's the kicker. Y'all. Guess who was helping them do it? Guess. Oh, you'll never guess. You'll never guess it. You ain't gonna guess it in a million years. Nope. You ain't gonna get it. You got it? You figured it out? Yep. Y'all. Good old black folks. Good old niggers. Yeah. Help them do it. Help them rob them black graves. And take to their prestigious colleges to use for their, studies and whatnot, so that they can become the masters that they are today. You helped them do it. But is that really any surprise, especially now today? I mean, let's keep this all the way real. We have been helping them do a whole lot of things. As a matter of fact, if you wondering why you can't get their foot off their neck, you might want to turn your head and look at your brother or your sister, right? Because 9 times out of 10, it's them. Yeah, we've been our own problem. All this time, we've been getting in our own way. But then you see, I don't mean to beat up on nobody right now, right? But I get how that happened. I get how that happened. I'm going to tell y'all how that happened. That happened because See, that was part of the setup. Yeah, it was a part of the setup. Another war strategy, should I say? Let's call this a war strategy, right? So, what happened, I believe, is they put black people in a predicament where we were so desperate. Cause don't ever think that black people were just selling each other out like that and not caring. Cause we'll see, they make sure they put those scenes in the movies, like Roots. They make sure they show the black man on the beach throwing the net over the, Kunta's head. They make sure they let you know that your people had a hand in enslaving your people, right? They let you know that. But see, our form of slavery was not nearly as inhumane as their, form of slavery, so-called slavery. But we should stop using that word slavery, because I've explained to you all before in another little video I did that slave, according to the Oxford Dictionary, comes from the word Slavic. So if you've never been a Slavic, if you are not a Slavic, you really should stop using that word, right? We should all stop using it, referring to our ancestors as former slaves, right? Because that's inappropriate. And we should all know at this day and time that when it comes to slavery, there were more Anglos in slavery than Negroids, right? Nagaru, black folk, so to speak, right? So, yeah, it's just a lot of things that we need to, start sitting back and really, putting the kibosh on. And, sealing this up and getting this on out of here, you know what I mean? We can't keep revisiting these things, right? But how can you not when it's still occurring? Because there's still, what is up with this little lantern bug? What, I keep getting rid of you, you just keep coming back. Get on. Come on. Get out of here. You want me? I'm trying not to kill you, but you better go. Uh-oh. See? Look at that. Uh-oh. Let me see. Are we good? You still here? Y'all still with me? You two, who you with me? Hey, are you with me? Nah. But, yeah, but, so getting back to where I was saying, what was I saying? Okay, yeah, so, that's been going on for some time. Black folks helping them folks to enslave one another. But why? Why were we doing that? See, here's my thing. I believe, and I strongly feel like this, and some of you out there may agree with me, that was a war tactic. See, you put us in a predicament where we're like crabs in a barrel. These crabs are all clawing, trying to get to the top, right? Move out my way, trying to get to the top. And they put us in that same kind of barrel, that same kind of predicament. By, putting us in these concrete jungles known as the hood, right? Hoods were designed, okay? And then we come along and graffiti them up and piss up the alleyways and filthy up the streets. So, we helping. See, there's a lot of ways we just been helping all this time. But, like I'm saying, I guess I get it. Why have we been helping them? Why have we been helping them? Well, it's a psychological thing. You feel as though your back is up against the wall in many cases. And so they took those opportunities. You know what I'm saying? They gonna offer me freedom, or they gonna offer me a job, or they gonna offer me a little piece of land, or something, in exchange for helping them capture my people. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what happened in the hills of Jamaica with these Maroon people. These Maroon people, right? They started giving up their own people in order to be able to have that piece of land and claim that area in these hills as their own and not be enslaved. So yeah, it's a game. It's a part of the game. It's a psychological game. It's a psychological warfare. But the thing is that when are we going to realize that that's what it is, so that we can break that cycle? You feel me? And stop helping them. Stop helping them, because, and I've said this so many times before, this doesn't have to be hard unless you make it hard. Because the answer is very simple. I've always said, all of that, we was always just all so happy and loving on each other, never really, beefing with one another. Yeah, okay. I really don't believe that. I believe that that's a fallacy. You know what I mean? We can agree to disagree. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. But we should respect one another. And at any time your brother or your sister is in need of help, we should be willing to come to their aid. Is it not written in your doctrine? Are you your brother's keeper? So yes, because at the end of the day, we are all just one, all a part of the Pa'ut, the all, right? We are all just one. Right? Just coming in different shapes and different forms, but really all just one. So, I'm just saying, I sit outside. This is not ritual. I told y'all. I like to sit in my yard, in my little area up under the trees and just meditate and think. Talk to the Most High, Elion El. In the Nadaru, in the ads. Just be one with nature, be one with the Pa'ut, the all, Because that's what we are. We are all one, all a part of this great cosmic energy. So, but if we're going to continue to do that, we breaking. When you do that, you break the chain of command. You break the strength. The strength only works. The strength only works when we're together. See, when we start turning on one another, we break that, right? We break that, because, like I said, the strength only works when we're together. Call it a magic power, if you will. Right? But when we're together, it's strongest. It's strongest, right? And that's one of the reasons why they use that tool of separation, right? So that, I'll give you another one. What is this? This is the meritorious manumission. I believe this is the Act of 1710. The Act of 1710 pretty much, as Dr. Cord Anderson explained it to us in his book, Powernomics. Is it Powernomics? I believe it's Powernomics. As he explained, excuse me, I just put a hot flash, y'all. I had to stop. me tell you. Baby, you don't know about these high flashes. They get real. They get real. They get real. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy they do. Ooh, okay. I'm back. And I'm not going to cut that because that was real. That was a real live moment, okay? But, so like I was saying, as Dr. Claude Anderson explained it to us in Powernomics, I believe it was Powernomics. Black folk, it's a psychological warfare. Them pitting us against one another. You understand me? They put us against one another. And it started probably, more than likely, it started with meritorious manumission, the Act of 1710, which basically said that if a slave would be willing to give over another slave, like let's say you heard that they was getting ready to have a revolt, try to overthrow, the plantation or the ship, the captain, or, run, and you tell, you could get your freedom. See, this was the beginning of them pitting us against each other, right? And then putting us in these horrible, horrible concrete jungles and, slums and just places to live that ain't even fit for an animal, right? In most cases. It puts you in a predicament, or it puts you in a state of mind where you become willing to do anything. Anything. You become willing to do anything to get over. Even if that means stepping on your brother or your sister to get there. And we see that today, just looking all around, how we treat one another right now. There's 100 of you right now looking right at me, judging, right? Judging. You thinking all kind of negative thoughts because you've already made your assessment of who I am, right? Because of something that they planted. That seed. It is. It's something that was planted, right? Planted. You know what I'm saying? So when we talking about us with the separation, us being willing to always throw one another under the bus, that was all a part of the plan, right? Because a lot of people would sit back and say, well, how could we always, how could we have helped them do that? Rob those graves like that, right? As sacred, especially way back then, we were supposed to be such a sacred people, such a close to God people, a godly people, right? Well, even back then it started. I just told you about 1710, the Act of 1710, meritorious manumission. So it truly is another form of mental warfare. Another form of warfare, right? Let's just say it like that. But we have got to be the ones to break that cycle. Like I said, that doesn't mean that we gotta now love each other, love everybody. We gotta all now like each other. Listen. Let me tell you like this. If you don't like this person or that person, for whatever reason, you got beef with them. Fine. Have that. Keep that. Keep that energy. Just put it on the back burner. Is all I'm saying. Put it on the back burner so we can get the job done. And it doesn't have to be that hard. We're just making it hard. Or all we need to do is just do nothing. Do nothing. Do nothing. Come together. Take a page out of a book of history like they always do. They're famous for taking pages out of history. Right? Yeah. Even past civilizations. Yes. Very famous for doing that.